Hello and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host Clayton at Clates AFC on X, and we're here to preview the Newcastle game. We're the team that kicks off the Premier League weekend in game week 10. It's the early kickoff tomorrow at 12:30, and to preview the game with me is my co-host at FPL Nima. How you doing?
Yeah, happy Friday, Clayton, everyone else. I'm pumped, man. 12:30 televised kickoff. Shame I can't be there, obviously away from home, but yeah, I'm excited, man. We have a history with them. Ever since the season we finished fifth and missed out on top four, and then the kind of the 0-0 at our ground when we maybe felt that we should have been given a penalty, and is it it's starting to become a rivalry. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah, 100% feel that way. I think it's as simple as they don't like us and we don't like them. And yeah, you're right. I think it started that year where exactly like you said, we lost 2-0 away from home, finished fifth, and the context around that was like that was the final nail in our coffin in terms of going and getting fourth, right? And I remember that game. I literally went on the supporters coach. Obviously, it was a Monday night game. Got back into like the supporters coach left the Emirates Stadium, so got into the Emirates at like 6 a.m. or something, went home, had to go to work, and I was just not in a good mood. But yeah, I think it started there. And then, like you mentioned, that kind of 0-0. I think they or Everton, I can't remember what order, set the template in terms of like that mid block and how to nullify that Arsenal period. So I think there's been that. The games have had a bit of needle about them. Like obviously last year, Havertz was it last? Yeah, it was last year, wasn't it? When it was flying on, I forgot who it was, but that caused controversy. Their goal was obviously very controversial. So yeah, it's definitely
There was
a
the
game.
elbow as well, right? From Bruno Guimaraes and the header
Forgot
Jorginho.
about that. Yeah, forgot about that. So yeah, it's definitely a game that it's got some needle there. And I mean, Newcastle have had a very strange season, is the word I want to use. But in the table, they're 12th at the minute. They've literally played nine, obviously. Won three, drawn three, lost three. And if you look at their actual record in terms of how they're getting on recently, they obviously beat Newcastle in the Carabao Cup midweek. Did I just say they beat Newcastle? I meant they
Yeah, yeah.
they beat Chelsea midweek in the Carabao Cup, and then the weekend before that they lost to Chelsea in the league. But they've not won in the league since the 15th of September, which is when they beat Wolves. So they're struggling at the minute, and hopefully that continues tomorrow. But yeah, there's lots to unpack before we get into it. But yeah, I'm glad you started there because yeah, I definitely think it's a game that's a bit heated, and yeah, I think we'll see that tomorrow. Like despite their struggles this season, I think there's certain games where fans and players get themselves up to their usual level and the level they're capable of. I think we'll see that tomorrow with Newcastle. I don't think we'll see a battle and a performance of a team that hasn't won in the league since the 15th of September.
It's crazy. I didn't realize it had been that long. That's like coming on, it's November now, obviously November 1st, but still a good 6 weeks. Yeah, I remember starting the season thinking highly of them. I think from an FPL point of view, I had a triple up. I had Isaac, I had Gordon, I had Lewis Hall. And they just, for the early part of the season so far, they've not really looked themselves, right? They're like a shadow of themselves. I think last year, was it last year when they got Champions League or the year before?
Year before.
So, because I remember there was that year before where they got it, and we thought, okay, like the reason they started off badly then was because of the extra competitions, right? So I kind of just assumed that things were going to be rosy for them. They've got some great players, but they've also had a few injuries. I know that much. So I just think that at their stadium, no one wants to go there. Like no one wants to go up there to St James's Park. It's that is one of the best crowds I would say in the Premier League, up there with kind of like Anfield and even Emirates these days, right? In terms of just the atmosphere, the fan base, it's a huge club, huge history. One of the only remaining northeastern clubs in the Premier League. All their rivals are gone. Middlesbrough's not there. Sunderland's not there.
Yeah, it's true. Sunderland are doing all right in the Championship, to be fair, so maybe they'll be back. But what you say there, I agree, and their atmosphere is incredible. Like definitely one of the best. The only thing I'd say on that is there are certain times of day and certain game states where, like anywhere, it gets quiet. Like, you know, that 2-0 where we beat them away from home. I was just scrolling, looking for that while you were speaking. That was a Sunday 4:30 game. And I remember we won 2-0. It was relatively controlled. And I don't remember their crowd being massive for that. There's other examples I've got in my head of Liverpool going there, playing in a 12:30 kickoff and getting an early goal and the crowd going quiet. So I think it's one where, it being Saturday 12:30, if we can get an early goal, I think that will play to our strengths, obviously, but like those kind of external factors,
It
like
should help us a lot. Like compared to like a 5:30, people have been in the pub all day. They're in that vibe, and then like the longer it stays 0-0, the more crazy the fans go. I think you're right. We
exactly.
need to stop them. I think they remind me of a team that if we give them anything, so like if their team starts showing physical battles and starts competing with us in duels and trying to knock our players out, I think that will get their fans well up for it.
Big
So I think
time.
we need to like be untouchable in a sense. Like if we want to keep their fans quiet, we need to just show control from the beginning. But that's going to be hard to do as we begin this is going to be the second of 4 away games in a row in like a 10-day period. So
True. And yeah, on that note, speaking of away days, I obviously went to Preston midweek, and fucking hell, like, you know what you were saying there about, like, wish I had a ticket for the game against Newcastle. Like, I don't know how some of our fans do it. Like, going to, like, I go to a handful of away games a season, but the ones that do all of them, mate, I'm still dead today. It's Friday afternoon. I mean, I got back 3:30 in the morning, early hours of Thursday. So like yesterday, I mean, I was productive in the morning, and then it got to I just slumped in the rest of the day, and I'm still feeling it now. But yeah, I was thinking that, like, if I was going to the Newcastle game, I was probably best off just staying in Preston and then staying up that side of the country.
I
But
think people do that, you know. So I reckon the guys who go to like every away game, they must sometimes go from like there'll be someone flying from Newcastle like later tonight or tomorrow straight to Italy. There'll be someone doing that.
yeah, that's a good point, probably. But yeah, do you want to do a couple minutes on the game midweek, or should we just head straight into the preview?
I think we're at 7 minutes in. Let's give it 2-3 minutes max, just because I think we have to speak about Ethan Nwaneri, second start, third goal, and
Hopefully you'll
what
learn how to pronounce his name this season as
he's
well.
the next one. Yeah,
You
there's
nailed
hope
the
for me.
Ballon d'Or. Now it's Ethan Nwaneri's the next target.
Ethan Nwaneri. I think you know what it is. I need to just not say the N at the beginning. Ethan Nwaneri.
Yeah, I struggled with it, to be fair. But yeah, go on. Do you want to, like you say, let's do a minute and a half
Yeah, just a
each,
little
just
bit each.
summarize it. Yeah.
So I'll let you give the more comprehensive view of someone who was there and obviously what it's like to be at a stadium like that. I did see it was a nice touch. They had a pint on draft that was the Invincibles, and obviously commemorating both clubs being the only English clubs in the top flight to go a season undefeated. That's quite cool. I like that. I liked seeing Sterling's first 90 minutes in the game. I like more of what I saw from him when he moved to his favored position after subs later on. I think he was very unfortunate not to get a goal, but he seemed to look like he was doing a lot of things right. And I enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what, it's hard. You got to come to a club, you've fallen out of love with football, build new relationships with people, and you're not playing often, right? So that was good to see. And obviously, Gabriel Jesus as well, like, you know, he's been doing interviews, and I saw the recent one was he got told, you know, when you say I've not scored since January or this first one, it sounds like a long time, but I've not really been on the pitch much. I've not been starting games or playing much. And I was like, bro, that doesn't make it sound any better. Like we're here
I've
with
not
you.
seen that.
Yeah. So I was like, because you know he's quite open with the press at times, and I just thought, okay, like he's clearly taking a long time to recover from whatever happened, but he will have a big part to play if we want to go far in all 4 competitions. So my final thought is like these players who got those runouts and staying in this competition for longer and trying to get to the final, etc. These are great things for us to try new things, figure out new things, build relationships. That's why I think I wasn't so surprised to see the likes of Marino play, and also to see Martinelli play. Because just touching on what I said in the review of the Premier League game, I think it's all about getting those two to spend more time together, build that chemistry. So I think it was interesting the way that kind of chopped and changed some of the starting lineup, but there were still some very senior players.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I almost look at Wednesday as like it was the perfect Carabao Cup night. Like Tommy Setford made his debut
Yeah.
coming in, and he looked. I mean, he didn't have anything to do, to be honest. But on the ball, he looked confident. He was demanding it. He was giving it. Zinchenko was really impressive. I thought. I know you have to be aware of the level of the opposition you're playing, but you like still have to do your job. And I thought he
He
was
looked
really
great
good.
in midfield.
Yeah. Well, he played at
But as
left
in
back,
those
but
areas, I think he
yeah,
looked like
in
whenever
those
he got the ball centrally, I was like, wow, I forgot how good he can be.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think a lot of our fans have. I've said this for a while. I think there's elements of his game that we lack sometimes when he's not there. But yeah, I thought Kivior came in, did well, and some of the other fringe players, like you said, it was good for Sterling to get his kind of first 90 minutes. Jesus got his goal. Waneri, Jesus Christ, man, he's just unbelievable. The fact that he not only scored that goal, but like we've seen it with the England youth teams. I've seen it at Boreham Wood before when I've gone and watched him in the Arsenal academy, and it's just something that looks so comfortable to him. I mean, he hit the bar with another one. He actually put the ball in the back of the net again, and I think someone was offside that played it into him. Forgot who, or the ball went out of play. Can't remember what it was. Jorginho, someone that was an ever present toward in certain parts last year, comes in, slots in really nice. And like you said already, the way he kind of managed Marino, and then if I could just add in Timber as well, like both going off at half time. Party comes on. Who came on for Marino? Was it Lewis Skelly? Can't actually remember. I can find it. It was Havertz. Havertz came on for Marino. So yeah, thought it was all in all perfect night into the next round of the cup. We've got Palace at home, and yeah, this is looking like a really good chance to go and win a trophy without having to play everyone necessarily, because I think we're getting the balance right in these games of the right youth players, the right fringe players, and the right senior players. So
A
yeah,
couple
all
of
in all,
years ago, if I could just add, like we would go and do that kind of game against a championship or lower opposition, and we would play the French players, and we'd get knocked out, or
yeah, literally, or they'd be a
or we'd
struggle. Yeah,
suffer. Yeah, yeah, it'd be a major struggle.
it's funny, on the way up, one of my mates that was driving, we were just talking about those kind of nostalgic games, and he was like, "Oh, I remember going to Bradford and we got like done there and Jovino missing." And I was like, "Yeah, it's such a good point. It's not really a contest anymore, these games, and like they're a championship team, right? Like it's not like they're League Two." So yeah, fair play. Just kind of final couple points before we move on, I promise. Yeah, that beer, I tried it. It was lovely, and
Nice.
it was, yeah, and it was a really nice ground. Like their fans were really quiet, to be fair, but it was a proper traditional ground, really nice. And like we had 5,600 fans there, all in good voice. I don't know if it came across on the telly, but like from being in there, it felt like we were all in
I could
loud and
hear the
proud
waka
numbers.
waka.
Yeah, that was one of many doing the round. So yeah, great night. And yeah, to the Arsenal, like I said, I do a few away games a year, but to the Arsenal fans that do every single one, I fucking tip my hat to you. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, great night into the next round. And yeah, let's get back to Newcastle now. And there's a question in the chat, but we'll answer that at the end if that sounds
Yeah,
good.
I'll put a Q&A. So thanks for tuning in, buddy. CH85EN. I don't know. Is that like Chasen? I don't know if it's
Chosen,
not chosen.
chosen,
Maybe
maybe.
chosen. Let us know how you'd like
Tell
us to
us.
call you, mate. Tell us, tell
Yeah.
us.
Are you chasing or are you chosen? But yeah, let's go on to Newcastle. So we touched a little bit around their season so far earlier, but let's go into the predicted lineup.
Yeah.
So lineup for Arsenal against Liverpool was Raya in goal, Partey, White, Gabriel, Timber. The midfield was Rice, Marino, and then Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, with Havertz up top. And team news wise, Ben White obviously wasn't in the squad against Preston. Arteta, oh, I should have got the exact quotes in front of me. If I can remember what I heard this morning, it was something like, "We don't." Oh, here we go. I've just pulled it up. "We don't know yet. He hasn't trained yet. He could not train. He could not get involved. So let's wait and see if he's available." And then someone else asked him another question, like, "Is it the same issue he had previously?" And he said, "No, it's not his groin, which he had before. This is a separate issue to do with a joint." So we'll have to see on that. Saliba is obviously back from his suspension. So well, yeah, he literally played midweek, so he'll be back in the team. Gabriel, let me find the specific quotes. "We have a training session today. If he can complete that, he'll be available. He hasn't had any training sessions yet, but if he's able to do that today, he'll be available to be in the squad." Now, it's interesting. I did see that Arsenal journalist from, I think, Football London, Kaya Kanak, he tweeted midweek something along the lines of Gabriel possibly could have been involved against Preston, but they didn't want to take the risk. And the wording from Arteta is very smart, because even though he says he's not trained yet, like the fact that we were playing in Preston on Wednesday night, like I wouldn't be surprised if Thursday was a rest day and the training session is today. So let's see on that. But yeah, I found the exact wording. Gabriel was in contention to play on Wednesday, but Arsenal decided to rest him. So that's that on that. Calafiori's ruled out, Odegaard's ruled out, but possibly back for Inter in the squad. Who else am I missing? Tomiyasu is not going to be back before the international break. So that's the team news.
And
I
White
think,
is obviously, you said you're like White
yeah,
is
and I
seen
said
to
that.
doubt, right? You said, but that's the
Yeah.
one that I'm most concerned about. I feel like the rest of it's black and white to me in terms of your prediction and my prediction. Like, I just I can't see anything apart from a Ben White kind of 50-50 on the day. That's the one I'm worried about. And I have a feeling he won't play. So I actually think Partey might play at right back.
I
Again.
agree. Go on, do you want to go for it? Do you want to pick what you think the team will be? And again, it's to stress it's what we think the team will be, not necessarily what we would pick ourselves.
That is a very fair distinction to make. So yeah, I think Raya at the back, of course, Partey. I think it's going to be Gabriel and Saliba together with Timber at left back. I think that's going to be the back five, I suppose. I do wonder if we're going to go again for this Rice, Marino, Saka, Havertz, Trossard, Martinelli team, like the kind of the 4-4-2 that you talked about with the double pivot of Marino, Rice, and then Saka, Martinelli, the wingers with the two strikers. What do you reckon? Because I actually have a feeling Trossard might not start, and I don't know if
Go on. Before I give my opinion, why do you think that?
I just maybe it's optimism, but I'd like to think that maybe like Jorginho might be someone who gets into this team. Interestingly enough, I think we might change system and go for a 4-3-3 because
Similar
I
to the
think actually,
Bournemouth game.
yeah. So I think it's more of the 4-3. That's why I say that because I'm thinking like, okay, so Marino's actually like not going to be the double pivot; he's going to be the left eight, and you know, or whatever. Like these guys will change it up. I don't know, man. What do you think? I think 4-3-3 more than 4-4-2, but maybe you disagree.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, I think it will be the same again. I think
Yeah.
being very simplistic about it, I think he'll literally look at how good that performance was against Liverpool before Gabriel went off. And the only enforced change from that team that started that game is Ben White possibly being unavailable, but Saliba's back anyway. So Saliba slots in. I also think Gabriel will be fine and start. But again, if he doesn't, I think Kivio will go in. Do I love it? No, but I think it's okay if Saliba's there next to him. The one thing I'll say though is if Gabriel is out, I think that does have a big impact. And it's the soft factors I spoke about in our Liverpool review, right? Like there's the kind of tactical element of like he enables us to play as high and aggressive as we do. But there's the soft factors in terms of he's the leader that dictates everything. Like I don't know if you saw there was an interview with Saliba a month or two ago with like a Sky Sports journal, and Saliba was saying Gabriel's the one always shouting at him in his ear. And like I wouldn't say Saliba is a leader, to be honest. He's powerful, but I wouldn't say he's the most vocal leader. Let me rephrase it like that. I wouldn't say he's the most instructional person on the pitch, whereas I think Gabriel is. So I think that could be a bit of a blow if he is out, to be honest. But yeah, I think system-wise we'll go with the same. I think the double pivot of Marino and Rice just works so much
Just
better, in my opinion.
hoovering up everything.
It puts Rice back in a zone where he can do what he does best. It gets him as a bit more of a primary ball progressor compared to when he's playing centrally with Partey and he has less of the ball. He's playing higher up. I think Marino, it just gives us that kind of balance. Like I spoke about the angles that when you feed the ball into him, his body positioning can open up. He can get it out to the left quicker. So yeah, I think it will be like Timber obviously went off. He had his minutes managed against Preston, so only played at one half, which was great. So I think it will be very simple for me. I think he's literally going to look to keep it as similar as possible as the team that started against Liverpool. I think Saliba will come back in for White. If Gabriel's out, which I don't think he will be, I think he'll play. But if he's out, I think Kivio comes in. There's only one slight thing, and I don't think this will happen. Like I must say, this is like a sub 10% probability. But in terms of what I've said about Newcastle, quietening the crowd, you mentioned a Jorginho there. Jorginho brings a level of control, passing, tempo dictation. I do wonder if there's an element of apparently Murphy may be a doubt for Newcastle and therefore Almiron may play. either one of them, like I'd say, to be honest, I'd be more worried about Almiron playing than Murphy, but they're not like Arjen Robben, are they? I wonder if there's an element of he goes with Zinchenko for that level of control in an environment like Newcastle away, where you get the kind of extra 10, 12 touches from that position than you would with a Timber, and you don't necessarily need a solid defender there to lock down Newcastle's right wing options. But I must say, I think that's a very small possibility. But if the lineup dropped and Zinchenko was there for that reason, I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, my actual prediction is Raya, Partey, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Rice, Marino, Saka, Trossard, Martinelli, Havertz. Are you going 4-3-3 with your predicted?
So I think I'm going to go to the 4-3-3 and I'm going to take inspiration from you and whack in Zinchenko at left back, Timber right back, Partey, Marino, Rice as a midfield three.
So the Bournemouth disaster, we're going to have to go through it again.
Yeah.
Fair play. And then, like you said, you think it will be Trossard that misses out in that case.
This is that right together, yeah.
Fair play. Yeah, we're not going to predict the Newcastle lineup, but just a couple of things to be aware of. So their lineup that started against Chelsea and their 2-1 defeat in the league was Pope in goal, Livramento, Cher, Burn, Hall. Very powerful midfield three of Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes, and Tonali. And then the front three was Almiron, Isaac, and Harvey Barnes. Now, apparently, Isaac is a doubt as well. I've not actually seen Eddie Howe's comments or his presser yet to see if it's been ruled out or confirmed that he's available. But if he's out, a lot of the Newcastle fans think it will just be Barnes on the left again. Gordon will go up top. Mentioned about Almiron and Murphy there. But that midfield three of Joe Linton, Guimaraes, and Tonali, like you spoke at the start about giving Newcastle fans a reason to get up for it, like that midfield three screams kind of adrenaline and moments to generate atmosphere within a crowd, right? So yeah, it's a team that we're better than, but you can't control some of the factors in terms of the environment you go within. So let's go on and look at the score prediction so far this season before we give our own. So 9 matches gone so far. We're level on correct outcomes now. So we've both got the outcome correct 56% of the time. You've got one correct score in there. I haven't called any correct scores yet. So basically just log off for this section of the pod when I'm talking. Goals for, goals against. We've both predicted we'd score 22 in our 9 games. We've actually scored 17. You've predicted we'd concede 2. I've predicted we'd concede 5, but we've leaked we've leaked 10 goals in our 9 games. So how do you think the game's going to go? You've given your lineup. We've spoken a little bit about Newcastle and their concerns. How do you think the game will go? And then what do you think the score will be in this?
Yeah, so I think with Isaac, by the way, just to add some context, the quote from today says it's about him and Murphy, I guess, because he says they both feel on it's about Anthony Gordon. So this quote is about both Anthony Gordon and Isaac. It's one quote for both of them. It's the exact same one on premierinjuries.com. He says they both feel okay. We will assess how they feel 48 hours after the game. They have both had niggling injuries, groin and toe respectively, so we'll make a decision today. They basically said nothing really apart from today there will be a decision made on both Isaac and Gordon.
Yeah.
And it's like a recurring injury. So
he's giving Mikel a taste of his own medicine, isn't he?
He is. With Murphy, he said on October 30th, Jacob was missing because of a slight hamstring. He couldn't play tonight, but we don't think it's anything serious. So with that in mind, if Gordon and Isaac were both somehow ruled out, I wouldn't expect them to score. So I would be going for like a 2-0 here. If they are fit, which I assume this is all mind games and they're fit, same thing with Gabriel, then I am going to go with a 2-1 because I do think that they will get a goal if those kind of players are available to them.
Interesting. If I could just copy and paste exactly what you said, exactly the same to them, to the point where even if it's just even if it's just Isaac out and they have to go Gordon up top, I think we shut them out and we win 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
If Isaac and Gordon are out, I think that even more. But I do think even without Gordon and Isaac's in the team and he's got Barnes on his left, I think that's still enough to give us problems and trouble us. But yeah, I'm working on the assumption they'll be fit and I'm going with the 2-1 as well. But in terms of the game, like I must say, I think the game will be a more comfortable 2-1 than the scoreline suggests for us. I think that first half against Liverpool, let me rewind before I talk about that. After Bournemouth, I had concerns. I had real concerns. I thought that before the red card, we were abysmal. I then watched us against Shakhtar, and I was concerned. It was the context of going into Liverpool, knowing we had Newcastle away, Inter away, Chelsea away, and the squad that was available. If Gabriel is fit, Saliba's back, we're playing in a system that I think suits us better without Martin Odegaard. That first half, what I saw against Liverpool was utter domination. Utter domination. Like it was a gulf in class and quality between the two teams. And if we're able to field that same team again, Newcastle are not at the same level as that Liverpool team. I think there will be periods where we kind of remind the country how good we are because it's live on the telly as well, right? And I think had Gabriel not gone off against Liverpool, the general narrative around Arsenal would be very different this week. So I'm hoping this is one where we can get through a game, no silly decisions, refereeing wise, just have enough quality to win the game on the pitch with what's available and have some luck injury wise so we can go and just get this 3 points, get out of there. To be honest, the performance doesn't matter in this game. It is the sort of place where you just go in, get the 3 points and then fuck off. But I back the boys to really put in a performance and surprise a few people tomorrow. So I'm going 2-1, which sounds fence city, like very close, but I think it would be relatively comfortable, to be honest, as long as those factors I mentioned all fall into place, which it's football. It never will.
Yeah, no, I think it's time that we kind of do what we need to do. I think before this game in the review, of the last matches, I'd said I felt we're going to have to come and win here. We're going to have to come and win at Chelsea. We want to be 5 points behind Man City come January. They've obviously got their own whole string of injury problems. It sounds like most of their back line is a wait and see fitness-wise that won't be risked if there's a risk. So, yeah, it's all very much like important times. I just don't think that it's the be all and end all yet. Like kind of what happened with Liverpool, the points dropped so far. You know, I'm not too concerned as long as that 5 point gap doesn't get bigger by January. I'm pretty confident that with the easier fixture run at the end of the season compared to both Liverpool and City, with a fully fit squad, with Odegaard on his way back, with everyone getting fit, I'm excited for what we're going to show after the November international break. But we just have to get through these 2 away games in the league plus Inter in between. We have to get through them. And that's why I think performance-wise, how we're going to play, none of that is in my mind right now. It's just we have to get these wins, whatever it takes.
Yeah,
that's the way I view these matches. But yeah, why don't we 2-1 each? Let us know, Chosen, if what your prediction is. I know we've had a few new viewers recently as well. So I was just going to say that 30 minutes in, first time we're going to say, if you guys enjoyed the episode, please do hit that like button and subscribe if you're new around here. We always do previews and reviews of every match. And yeah, let's go to the Q&A on that note. So I think we have 2 questions from Chosen, actually. So I'll let you take the first one. Yeah, so what's up, fellas? Top 5 teams for a new fan of the Premier League. So Chosen is from East Coast, USA, new football fan or soccer fan, I could say. But yeah, no bandwagon.
No, it's football.
It's football. Okay. So no bandwagon teams. I think that kind of immediately rules out like a Man United, even if they're not doing so well, right? Because surely they're still a bandwagon team, no?
Yeah, possibly. Like, yeah, well, how would we define a bandwagon team? Yeah, Chosen, let us know what an example of a bandwagon team is. I think
I'll tell you a bandwagon team. In
Okay,
New
cool.
York, a lot of people support Tottenham because there's a US sports team called Spurs.
Okay.
And
Fair
like
enough.
it's not even related to like football, but they're like, oh, cool. We're gonna be hipster and support this team called Spurs as well.
Yeah, fuck that.
Imagine living in America having no connection to North London or Tottenham, and deciding to put yourself through that choice to become a head
Yeah,
coach.
imagine choosing to put yourself through that pain. No, Chosen, we're nice guys. We're not going to force you into any misery by suggesting Tottenham. So the obvious one is the Arsenal.
He
Yeah, I
said no
mean,
big six, by the way. So by bandwagon will mean like
ah,
not non-traditional big six. I like that. So who do you
okay.
like outside of the big six if you were to pick just 5 teams?
That's a really good question. I really like Crystal Palace. I think they're especially like living in the U. Well, you live nearer to Crystal Palace than
I'm
I
a
do.
big Palace. Yeah, I love Palace.
And yeah, they got a really nice community there. Like, yeah, I think in terms of culture as well, like there's a lot of similarities in terms of like South London lifestyle and some bits of North London in terms of like, yeah, how can I define it? Yeah, I don't know how to put it into words, but like there are some similarities while being two very different places in the way North London people from certain areas carry themselves, similar to some parts of South London. So yeah, I've got a soft spot for Palace, to be honest. I like them. Good atmosphere there, good ground, proper old school
They've
ground.
had a tough start to the season, of course, but I do really think Palace just like I think they're the only Premier League team that has cheerleaders, the Crystals, and then the Eagle used to fly around the match pre-game. They had a whole section of ultras in all black with the drums. Like they were one of the few UK stadiums that had a truly large ultra community of fans trying to replicate the atmospheres in Europe. There's just it's very much. I went to high school growing up near Croydon, and that was like the local team, right? But before that, there was one other city that had a place in my heart, which Chosen mentioned, and it's Brighton. Because when I was 8 years old, I briefly lived in Brighton and Hove. So
Where
again, I
haven't
love
you lived? Yeah, well,
Brighton.
Brighton are the flipping. They're the motorway rivals of Crystal Palace, right? Them
That's
two
the
are the
craziest part. I like
yeah.
two teams that are supposedly like a local derby, but yeah, I love them both. Forest have history, as Chosen says. They have a big history. I don't know if personally I'd want it. Like I think they're doing great this season. I don't know if I'd want to be a long-term support. One thing that's interesting is I think the reason Arsenal's kit is red is because back in the days we were given kits by Forests,
Yeah.
and obviously they wear red, right? So they help supply us in the early days. So these teams all have history. I love that stuff. Oh yeah, the big Crystal Palace that was burnt down. Yes, it was like an actual Crystal Palace. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's crazy, right?
One thing that might help us finish the answer to the question before we get out of here is Chosen started watching Ted Lasso, and he's very intrigued by the coach and the team. So, what teams
Mhm.
can we throw there that's outside the big six that has like a unique, charismatic coach?
I like Wolves. I was going to say them from the start. I really like Wolves, but I don't think they're the same Wolves as the one that came up to the Premier League,
No,
unfortunately.
I'd say I mean he's gone up in my estimation this week because of the clip doing the rounds on social media. But Nuno, combine him with what you said about Forest, he seems like a really nice guy.
Very
So
good
yeah,
point. Yeah, go
yeah,
check out that clip Chosen of Nuno if you haven't seen it. He had some guests, and he just looks so genuine in this video that you can tell that he's just very happy to be there. So I was very impressed by him. What do you think of Thomas Frank and Brentford and the whole
that's a that's a
like
good
the
shout.
Brentford story, right? Like the Moneyball
Yeah.
story coming from the bottom divisions
The only
using
thing is they
data.
don't have an atmosphere there. So like I don't know if Chosen was ever to go to a game, like it's a bit flat there. But yeah, in terms of their story, Thomas Frank as a manager, like that's a great one actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are all good teams. And then the final question was just around the game itself. So we'll take this question from Chosen before we get out. And it's, I think maybe it's not a question, but it's a rhetorical point. Yeah, about why wouldn't Gordon play? He played on Wednesday, coming back from groin injury, mind games.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so to
think
be fair, I where I got that from was I was doing another podcast this morning and the guy I was doing it with told me that Gordon was a doubt. So I haven't actually gone and fact checked that. So that could be wrong. That could be a mistake from me based
well, the
on
quote from the manager today did
Oh
say
yeah,
that
you did say.
it is mind games. What do you think just about this quickly high level on Arteta, and we'll get out of here. So they say Arteta seems like a tactician. How do you feel about game adaptability? So I guess that's like once the game starts, in-game decisions. I guess substitutions. Like any thoughts on that? I think we've said in the past this is his first job in management, and he's obviously going to learn along the way. And there are times that we will admit that like maybe he didn't get the right decision or bring on someone early enough. But I always viewed that as like he's a young manager, he's going to learn, and that's just how it is. I don't know what your thoughts are. Do you think he's improved in that respect over the last few seasons? Is there still some way to go, maybe?
Yeah, I think the thing with Arteta is like the team that improves year on year. You always see evidence of him year on year improving as well, and it's always like It's more. I put more emphasis on like what is someone's mindset and behaviors they demonstrate more than the outcome I see. Because if he's got a mindset and a behavior trait of a growth mindset, wanting to continuously improve, that makes me more comfortable and confident. So yeah, I definitely think he's improving year on year and he's growing into one of the best managers around. In terms of his in-game adaptability, I think it's great. Like, this is the thing, like, there's been games as recent as last week where I have said, and I believe he made subs too late. But I feel like every football fan to ever exist has said that about every single manager. I feel like that is just a thing that is always there in football spectators and supporters' heads, where I couldn't tell you why, but I can't remember a time where I've ever not thought that. So I'm not sure that's necessarily an Arteta thing. And I'd say 7 times out of 10, he does get them spot on. And if anything, I'd go the other way and say, I mean, state the obvious, what I'm about to say, it should be this way, but he does things that I haven't even considered or thought of. And I'm like, oh, that looks so obvious. How did that not pop up into my conscious thinking? So I think he's absolutely outstanding, to be honest. Yeah, some of his subs, especially recently, I think have been a bit wayward. But like I said, if you can challenge me and find another manager where you've never thought that way, I'd be surprised. So yeah, that's my take on it. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think like I've definitely been someone who's a staunch supporter of his, and like there are questions like when we were going on the really bad run where we won one game in 10, had 3 points out of 30 near Christmas a few seasons back, and it was only really the injuries to like players like Willian were playing every week who he bought that summer, and it was only injuries and stuff that later led to like that youth core of Smith Rowe and Saka getting those runs into those teams, and like his fortune turned around. So I always felt like sometimes it required injury or like really playing someone out of form for like months before he would move off. I think he's less stubborn than he was back then. So I think
Yeah,
he's come a long way.
that is a good point. I still think he can improve on his trust around the squad unless it's enforced. But yeah, let's wrap it up there. We're at 37 minutes now. Chosen, thanks for joining and good luck with finding your non top 6 Premier League team. Let us know who you choose, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you back in the live chats more often. But yeah, to anyone else that's listening, like Nima said, please subscribe to the channel, because you need to, actually, because I don't actually know when we're going live with the review. So if you subscribe to the channel, you'll get the bell when we do go live with the Newcastle review. I'm traveling to Milan, sorry, for the Inter Milan game next week, and then Nima and I will be back to preview the Chelsea game next Friday. So yeah, lots of content coming. It's start of a big week before another international break. So yeah, on to St. James's Park tomorrow. Hopefully get a big 3 points, and then let's see how we get on with Inter and Chelsea away. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, like I said, please subscribe to the channel, drop the stream a like, give us a 5-star review on audio. Up the Arsenal.
Come on, you Gunners.